The heroic stage Starblaze and Omnuron is in my opinion the first annoying stage of Moonglade. And what makes it so frustrating is that the stupid bear guy is already transformed and has AoE swipes basically one-shotting your army, and has a huge knockback, and on top of that both bosses are bloodlusted. The other frustrating thing is the Stonehoof Tauren that just keeps charging. I know it's a talent, but it's basically a one-shot for most of the weaker ground troops. Teamed up with the Moonkin and Huntress, pushing to the boss can be quite troublesome. There has been some overall nerfs to Moonglade, and we got a few new units to play around with, which makes beating this stage more manageable. And after a lot of trial and error, I came up with this. With this team, using the big boy Molten Giant with the Taunt talent, and Priestess with Power Word Shield talent, and the Harpies with Gold Mine talent. As for the DPS, I found that using poison units are very effective. So let's get started with the 6 faction walkthroughs. At the start of the stage, I have found that you have to be more reactive to what the computer throws at you. Usually there are 2 ground units, or a ground unit and a Moonkin. Here I summon Molten Giant alone against the ground troops, and I cycle units to try to take the chest in the middle, and I get my Griffin out to help out. I'm actively trying to avoid deploying ranged units against the Tauren, as she will most likely one-shot them, and I get Tyrion out to heal instead. Controlling the gold mines and the chest is very important. You need gold to keep the unit pressure up on this stage. I decide to get Harpies to help out, as I don't have any good air support right now, and getting them to mine the gold. And I start my assault on the right side with the Molten Giant. I reinforce my Molten Giant on the right side with some additional healing units. On the left side, the Molten Giant locks the Tauren in with the Taunt talent, and I decide to deploy the Troll Hunter. The Priestess's Powered Shield talent is super strong, and you only really need 1 Molten Giant up for each boss at a time. So on the left side with the bird boss, I'm not sure if it's a feature, but the Molten Giant's taunt keeps it from transforming. But I will say my Troll Hunter level is quite high, so it will look like he will try to transform at the end, but maybe the taunt locks him in, and he wasn't able to transform right away. And now the hard part is kind of cycling enough units that my Troll Hunter doesn't get killed when hitting the bear. With Tyrion, it's easier to keep the Molten Giant alive, but it takes a while to kill the bear.
My final flight.
So with the Blackrock and Emperor Thorson, I didn't get the best opening hand to deal with the ground troops coming from the top, so I tried to quickly take the tower on the left hand side and prepare for that incoming force. I deployed my Harpies to deal with the ground unit, seeing that I didn't see a Huntress yet, but I made a little mistake there, and my Harpy level is quite high, higher than the level of the stage, so they were able to kill the Tauren quickly before getting killed by the Huntress. I got my Molten Giant ready to protect my base. I'm using Firehammer here to showcase that you don't necessarily need poison all the time if you have Thorson out with the fire damage. I kind of waited, not knowing what to do here, but securing gold on this map is so crucial, so I contested the gold chest. I think poison units are the way to go. In this run though, I don't use it. I'm using the fire burning talent. It just takes a little longer. I can't stress enough that you do need to overwhelm this boss. I also deployed my harpies really late to secure gold. And waiting for overtime isn't the greatest, as they get to deploy as much units as they can as well with their beefy ground units. Usually, if the units are coming from the top, I will try to take the tower on the left quickly. I wanted to stop the kobold from mining, and I got lucky with my witch doctor deployment to fight against their harpies. I feel the computer has become better at responding on what you deploy, so my harpies get countered quickly, so I had to wait for better deployment strategy. Luckily, one of the strengths of Cenarion Leader is his mini-stun, so I was able to delay and defend on the right side. On this map, it's sometimes more beneficial to react. Originally going to use Ogre Magi to defend, but as soon as I saw the Huntress, Molten Giant is the best way to counter her with the units that I have. As a note, when deploying against Huntress, you want to deploy away from what she's attacking. So my Priestess was able to heal, and I usually deploy my Troll when I know he can be healed and defended well. I'm abusing my level of my Troll Hunter here. One Troll and Molten Giant is usually enough to take out the bird guy if the computer deploys nothing else on that side. Really, the rest of the time is securing gold, deploying Molten Giant on the right side and defending and healing him while trying to find a good opportunity to deploy Troll, as he does get one shot by everything else on the map. As an added bonus, with my Ogre Magi, I do have the burn talent. For my opening hand, I had Bristle, so I do feel that because of my levels I can kind of contest for the chest at times, and mostly because of how slow and expensive Molten Giant is, you do need to curb some of the computer's momentum. So with the Undead team, I'm using the Great Plague Farmer, so I usually try to kill the bear boss first rather than the bird, so I'm actively sending forces in that direction. But securing the towers in the map with Molten Giant is the initial strategy, and keeping up with the resource management, trying to take control of gold mines to keep the unit pressure. I do like to alternate Molten Giants per side, as it's hard to know when and where and what the computer will deploy. After some stalling and waiting, I am finally able to see a good line, sending Plague Farmer on the other side. And finally successfully defending my base, and I can finally deploy my skeletons to kill the bird.
My final flight.
So with the Beast Leader, I'm using Chimera with double poison talent, and with using Chargala as leader, it's a little tricky, because with the units I am bringing, some of it can get it really expensive. But with her, the same strategy applies, push with Molten Giant. Again, with Chargala, you kind of have to plan a move or two ahead, especially in terms of resourcing. Usually with Chargala, you kind of want low-cost units and maybe one expensive units. So a lot of decisions on this run I'm trying to make are kind of resource-driven, even at 5 or 6 gold. But keeping with the strategy, just get Molten Giant tanking and taking objectives.
My light shall pierce the veil of darkness.
Also, I didn't notice the bird boss transformed already, so it probably would have been better to send the Chimera and use Bristle to turn him the other way. I might have cleared this stage a little quicker. Something to note on this map, the ground units like this Molten Giant here is just sitting there, and in general it's okay, but he's also hitting the Chimera in the back, so yeah, that's not great. Dealing with their army is difficult on when exactly to deploy. I think I chose the wrong talent for the Prowler. The stealth talent would have been superior against the Huntress and Tauren.
My light shall pierce the veil of darkness. Line 'em up. My light shall pierce the veil of darkness.
I do get lucky in the end by sending a Molten Giant as the tank and a well-timed Bristle to make the boss look the opposite direction of my Chimera, to keep them distracted and letting the poison do a lot of the work. And where Chargler shines is if you are able to deploy your heavy hitters with less gold, it makes quick work of the boss when left unchecked.
Forests, avenge thee.
Ysera, in my opinion, has the best tools to kill the bosses for this map. However, it comes at a cost of controlling the map quite a bit. Defending can be a bit annoying. At the start here, I am trying to cycle for Molten Giant for my push, but in doing so, the computer took most of the resources, and my base takes quite a beating, which, depending on your level, might end your run right there. At the start, I think it's more important to get control of towers over trying to push and kill a boss early. I found pairing the Molten Giant and Priestess is really strong, but it can get countered by their heartbeat units. It's better to have more than just the Priestess to support the Giant, but again, this requires a lot of gold. I've mentioned this before, but the bird boss doesn't transform or tries to do it very late, but one poison unit and a tank is enough to take down the bird usually. Again, my levels on the DPS are quite high though, so take that into account. But right after I kill the bird boss, I just started playing very poorly and not really prioritizing having 1 to 2 Molten Giants out. You do want to overwhelm the boss, and by having at least 1 Molten Giant, he may taunt some stray units the computer deploys, and make sure you grab all the resources to keep up the pressure. In my case, my Ysera has the double damage poison talent, so the dragons can kill him really quickly. I hope this video helps you out in defeating the stage with various leaders. Thanks for watching, and may this day be the best for you.
My light shall pierce the veil of darkness. My light shall pierce the veil of darkness. Line 'em up.
30 seconds remaining. Dingo.
My final flight, it seems.